Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us today. My name is Alina Islam, and I'm a mining analyst here at Red Cloud Securities. I'm very excited to present Canterra Minerals to you, a base metal and gold explorer with a large land package in Newfoundland. To give you an overview of the company, as well as discuss upcoming plans, we have with us Chris Pennimpede, CEO. Once Chris completes his presentation, we will conclude with a Q&A session, so please put your questions into the chat box and we'll get through as many as we can at the end. Before we get started, I do need to mention the fine print. For Canterra Minerals, there may be some forward-looking statements made on this webinar. Please read the cautionary note on page 2 of the Canterra Minerals corporate presentation located on the company's website. For Red Cloud Securities, I would highlight that this webinar is for information purposes only and should not be considered a solicitation to purchase or sell securities or a recommendation to buy or sell securities. We note that this webinar does not take into account the particular situation or needs of individual investors. Participants should rely on their own investigations and seek their own advice before investment. Please see our most recent research located on our website for Canterra Minerals specific disclosures. With that, I'll hand it over to you, Chris. Please take it away.
Thanks so much, Alina, and good to be back on the Red Cloud webinar platform. Just a little about me as an introduction. I'm a geologist by background and training, and I've been president and CEO of Canterra since 2020. And as we've embarked on exploring the central Newfoundland mining district. And what I'd like to do today is, coming off of a very busy PDAC, I guess 2 weeks ago now, I would like to give an overview of our exploration plans for 2025 here, where we're really focused on the critical minerals side of things. And for us, that means copper and zinc in the central Newfoundland mining jurisdiction, where we're the second largest critical minerals explorer on the island of Newfoundland. And on the back of our drill results last fall, I think we're now poised to become the largest resource stage explorer on the island for critical minerals. And so we're going to cover our plans for 2025, which will focus around the former Buchans mine, which is what captured the market's attention with our drill results from our first kick at the can there back in the fall of 2024. And so with that out of the way, and with Alina giving a good overview of our cautionary statements and forward-looking disclosures, we'll jump into what we are all about in Canterra. And so what we've done here, as Alina mentioned, we've consolidated several resource stage critical minerals deposits, all within the central Newfoundland mining jurisdiction, outside of Calibre Mining's Valentine Lake mine, which is Newfoundland's newest mine. And so it's taken 4 years and 4 deals to put this package together. And it's really unique in Canada, not just in the sense as the district scale land position, but that it encompasses all the known mineral deposits on the critical mineral side of things. And obviously Calibre's got an orogenic gold deposit, but we've amassed all the other known deposits. This part of central Newfoundland's the best place I've ever worked in my career. It's got roads, power. You won't ever have to use a helicopter here. You can drive to site. You have small towns that have been supported all the past and now present mining activity with Calibre. And we've been really fortunate at Canterra, where we have sort of a who's who of major resource investors to name as founding shareholders, starting with Michael Gentili way back in 2020 when we got started in Newfoundland, who owns 4% of the common, And then Eric Sprott came in 2021 for 4%. And so we're very fortunate to have those two people as supportive stakeholders, and I think that helps not only with the investor base that follows them around into stories, but also helps with them supporting our financing. So I was here at the end, I think, of 2024, or maybe it was in fall, with our first kick at the can as far as drilling one of these projects was concerned. And we started at the former Buchans mine, which was the highest grade mine during its 50-year operating history, that ASARCO mine from the 20s through to the early 80s. And so the results here, I think, speak for themselves. We demonstrated this is a high grade story with broad widths of fairly high grade copper equivalent mineralization, and the highlight that got the market's attention was 100 meters of 1.5% copper equivalent. So it was a great start for us at Canterra in getting a modern view on the resources here on the former Buchans mine. And then we concluded the year with 78 meters of 2% copper equivalent as our second hole that we put out. And so here in 2025, we're looking to build on this drill success in 2024 and really start with drilling all the holes we didn't have money to do last year because we were budgetary constrained in that drill program. It was only 1,600 meters. But on the back of these drill results, we were able to raise 4.6 million at the end of 2024. So we're looking at a catalyst-rich 2025 with at least 10,000 meters of drilling to be dedicated towards the former Buchans mine. Ultimately, this big catalyst-rich year will hopefully help us on our goals to become the largest resource base on the island as far as critical minerals are concerned, where right now we're second to Firefly Metals. So to put this into context of where we are with respect to our peers, and this is specific to VMS deposits, so massive sulfide deposits, which is what the former Buchans mines is, and what all these other companies are developing. And so you can see us here with we're actually at 28 million market cap today, as we down traded a bit here early in the year. And so you can see, relative to our tonnage at 23 million tons of indicated, next to Firefly, which again is another Newfoundland critical minerals explorer, same indicated tonnage, approximately same average head grade across those tons, and the market caps are wildly different. And so our goal is to close that gap, and I think the best way to do that is just to continue to drill more high grade. And ultimately, the poster child in the massive sulfide space is to become Foran Mining, probably the most successful VMS explorer, now developer, having grabbed the attention and investment of Pierre Lassonde and now Agnico Eagle, funding them to production, and they command a 1.6 billion market cap. So VMS deposits, though everyone was very focused on porphyry copper deposits, I would say in the past 10 years, are coming back in vogue. And I think that's because they're relatively low tonnage, but very high grade, and an increasing CapEx sensitive economy. I think the miners are now coming back around to seeing the value in these deposits. Just to continue to pound away on this point of our goal to surpass Firefly, which is 200 kilometers north of us in Newfoundland. They were an operating mine similar to, just more in recent times. So they now sell themselves as pre-development. They have a resource, and they're exploring adding more tons, much like we have resources. We're exploring and adding more tons, and you can see on a drill hole basis, we're fairly equivalent. And so with more drilling, and I think ultimately discovery this year with those 10,000 meters, I think you'll see us close the gap between where we are today at a 28 million market cap to hopefully get somewhere closer to where Firefly trades today. Okay, so jumping into the island now, and where our properties are actually located, and where our 4.6 million in expenditures are going to be focused on this year. So we've jumped into the Central Newfoundland mining jurisdiction now. And first, I'll highlight Caliber's Valentine mine operation. This should be first pour sometime in April, was the forecast. And they're 5 million ounces now, probably closer to 6 million ounces and counting. But before Caliber started developing and made the discovery of the Valentine Lake deposit, it was really a base metals camp here in central Newfoundland. And that was anchored by the discovery of the Buchans mine in the early 1920s. ASARCO discovered it in 24, I believe, and it was in production by 1926. And that's really what brought people and infrastructure into this part of central Newfoundland. Prior to this, there was nothing here. Newfoundland has a very active, I'll call it, forestry industry. And so you can see all the logging roads in the light gray here, and other roads accessing hydro stations and whatnot. But the long and short of it is you can drive everywhere here. Access is the best I've ever seen in my career. And with power that goes straight to Buchans. And then thereafter, Buchans shuttered in 84. Duck Pond was discovered. Again, another massive sulfide deposit. And Teck operated that from 2007 to 2015. And it was an order of magnitude smaller than Buchans, where Buchans was one of the larger tonnage and certainly the highest grade massive sulfide mine during its operating history, having produced 16 million tons at a remarkable 28% combined base metals. Duck Pond was an order of magnitude smaller at 5 million tons at around a 15% combined base metals. Nonetheless, that just added infrastructure and power to the region. And then when we got going in 2020, where we started was on the gold side with the extension of the Valentine Lake Shear Zone, which controls all 5 million ounces of known gold mineralization on Caliber's ground and continues onto our ground. When we went public on those assets in 2020 / early 2021, we went from a 6 million market cap to a 30 in short order, given Newfoundland was sort of a new gold rush at that time with the discovery of Valentine Lake and newfound gold. And so ultimately, we captured some of the Duck Pond geology within the gold claims. And so it made sense to look around and see if we could leverage our market cap to actually get metal in the ground or resources, given we were very early stage gold exploration company at the time with a high chance of failure at the drill bit. And so this was the bottom of the base metals market in my mind. And so what happened was this deposit, Le Marchand, just south of Duck Pond and about half the size as it's currently defined, Long Lake, Boomerang, Domino, and Talks deposits became available. And so we leveraged our market cap to acquire those in 2021, giving us our first critical minerals resource stake in the camp. And then thereafter, we set our sights on Buchans, which finally became available to purchase. And we did so at the end of 2023. And that came along with not only the existing mine, but also Bobby's and Daniel's Ponds deposits. So all told, we now have 7 critical minerals deposits, which is all the known ones outside of Duck Pond. And so with 7 resource stage projects, we let these compete for capital. And so we're starting with the one that we think has the greatest potential to yield another tier 1 discovery of high grade base metals. And for us, this means copper and zinc. And so for that, we've determined you have to go back to Buchans. It was a tier 1 mine. Duck Pond was too small to be considered in that vein. But Buchans was certainly a tier 1 mine and very high grade. And so that's where we started exploring last year, had some success, and where we'll be focused here on 2025 on building on that past success. And so why Buchans? This really just, I think, paints the picture succinctly to show where it stacks up relative to other world-renowned massive sulfide deposits. So you can see it's at the pointy end on the grade curve here, although it's smaller tonnage than the largest known massive sulfide deposits, which are out here. It's high grade, low tonnage, and it was a very, very profitable mine. As you can see, the numbers here were just pretty crazy by modern standards. Over 23% combined base metals, not including the 1 gram per ton gold and 100 grams silver that the mine produced at over its 50-year mine life. And so the gross tonnage value based on 2023 prices would have been over 14 billion US. So it was just a substantial asset for ASARCO, and it supported them for over 50 years. So that's where we're going to focus and focus on making another high-grade Buchans-style massive sulfide discovery. So we'll jump into Buchans now and walk you through where we're going to be focused on this year within this former brownfield site. This was historically an underground mine, so you can see one head frame left standing here. This is the Lucky Strike head frame that accessed one of the massive sulfide lens. There was 4 head frames in total, only one's left standing today. And so the resource area that today basically is a 17 million ton, if you include the inferred, that more or less encompasses an area like this. So it's effectively pre-stripped and actually conceptualized in an open pit. But as far as drill costs and working, this is the town ASARCO built to support the 50-year mine life. 600 people live there today. It's very much a struggling town. A lot of the inhabitants after this shuttered in 84 then worked at Duck Pond just across the way. And now the few remaining people who work in mining work at Caliber's Valentine operation. So, we rent a house here. We can walk to the drill rig, and if you want, you could grab a moose burger and take it to the drill rig from the inn that's here. And the point I'm trying to get to here is the all-in drill costs here are as low as you can get in Canada, I would guess, and $200 all in a meter. So our money goes a long ways here, and that's why we have such a substantial drill program planned for this year with over 10,000 meters. And so I think the right way to look at the exploration opportunity outside the resource, which is where we're going to be focused this year, is to really go to and look at all of the data together in one slide here. And this is the AI output. So what happened here is we had 100 years of mining and exploration data, over 400,000 meters of drilling, dozens of geophysical surveys, though all fairly historic in terms of being modern. And so we plugged this all into Verify AI to help identify the opportunities. So where could we go to find a brand new high-grade Buchans-style massive sulfide discovery? So I think this just succinctly shows those opportunities the best. And so what you're looking at here is, if you look at the legend here in the lower right, this is a prospectivity or probability score, where the hotter colors, white being the hottest, indicates a high probability of discovering Buchans-style massive sulfide. And then it's graded by bars. So the higher the bars, the higher the probability. So as a geologist, when you use any new technique, you want to make sure it identifies what's already known. And it did that with the known resource area, which is called the Lundberg Stockwork Zone. This is basically the material, the lower grade material they didn't mine, they mined down to this level, and then they would stop mining as that runs around 5% combined base metals. And so it works. It found that, good. But the bigger takeaway from this, and where our drilling is going to be focused here early in Q2, is the pump house. This was an unmined, massive sulfide zone that didn't make it into the mine plan originally. And then the pump house trend, which before the AI was done, was internally one of our favorite trends, as it's the exact same host horizon as the mine trend. And it has early drilling in sparse spots from like the 50s that indicate you're seeing the same mineralization that you do within the mine trend. It just needs more data, I think, to work into a drill target that we can hopefully make a new discovery there. But the biggest takeaway was this new target, or I guess discovery within the AI model here, was this new target area, which has a higher probability than even the known mineralization in terms of hosting a Buchans-style high-grade massive sulfide. And so for drilling this year, we can't just go and, we're not at the point yet you can just go and drill AI targets, unfortunately. It's still a bit early days for that in using AI tools. But what it did do is really highlight areas that we should add more first principles geoscience information. And so we're embarking right now on a major minor style modern geophysical survey across the entire property project area. So all the fields, all the ground green fields, and really this is the first modern geophysical survey that's ever been attempted over the entire project area. And so this should hopefully refine the pump house target and the new target and the Clementine and McLean trends to refine where we should stick a drill hole to hopefully make a new discovery. And so we announced starting the program, I guess a month ago now. And so we'll probably see first results here in early April, and then be in a position to drill some of those targets throughout the rest of 2025. So it's really an exciting time for Canterra, as this is really pushing the project forward. When I presented this at Vancouver's Mineral Roundup and again at PDAC, it really got the major miners' attention, where they said this is the exact same type of survey we would do, and this should give you, exactly what you need to either elevate each of these targets in terms of drill priority or downgrade them, as whatever the case may be. And so we feel this will really be a significant step forward for the former Buchans mine. All right, so to summarize the value proposition here, we're a high-grade story, and I think last year what we demonstrated that we're a high-grade story, but we're ultimately growing the resources on both the former Buchans mine and a smaller drill program we did at Le Marchant last year. And so that's really important, especially for our goal where we're aiming to be, surpass Firefly and thus grow our market cap and return, give shareholders more value. And so I think by continuing to drill high grade, both outside the existing resource area and making a new discovery, that's really how we're going to do that. And this year, that's our focus, where we'll have 10,000. We've already started the AI, which you saw. We have the IP survey underway, and then we have 10,000 meters to follow up. So it'll really be a catalyst rich, where it's just the geophysics results, the targets that come out of that, followed by first drilling, and then drill news flow through the rest of the year. And ultimately, we can drill pretty much as cheap as right in the heart of Val-d'Or, Quebec, $200 in a meter, and we have $4 million in cash. And I can't emphasize this point enough, but Newfoundland and Labrador are so permitting friendly. It's amazing. It's less than a month to get a drill permit, and there's I think you've shown through Vale's continuing mining at Voisey's Bay and expanding Voisey's Bay, and now Calibre with the newest mine right next door, basically getting that from resource stage to development in record time for Canada. You can mine here. So if we are successful at the drill bit, there's a path here to quick development, as the island, or Newfoundland and Labrador as a whole, I should say, wants to see 5 new mines in 5 years. And so, that was a few years ago now. So they have 1, and they're very supportive of the extractive industries. And so that's ultimately how we're looking to drive our business growth this year is through the drill bit. I'll just finish on this. I marketed hard with Red Cloud all summer long here, and we were bobbing around 4.5, 5 cents, waving my arms as frantically as I could. That we were drilling within a former tier 1 mine, and there's going to be metal there. And sure enough, we were successful, and you saw the market reaction. And so it was, I think, good for all explorers that success of the drill bit garnered this much of a percentage gain, where we basically tripled it at the very tippy top here. But what I'll point out here is I think all explorers here in early 2025 have seen a little bit of a clawback in 2024 gains, and so we've been bobbing around 7.5, 8 cents. And so, a lot of people were like, damn, I should have bought at 5 cents. I'm like, well, now you're getting not much more, and ahead of a next drill program where we'll have even more meters to throw at it. So I think it's a compelling, obviously bias here, but a compelling place to get in now, as we're looking for towards a catalyst-rich 2025. So our capital structure, 4 years, 4 acquisitions. We did most of that with share equity, and so we're $300 million outstanding. But really Sprott, Gentili, insiders, and then Buchans Resources, who we acquired Buchans from, are the main stakeholders. And as far as funds go, there's Pathfinder in Vancouver, Incomet in Germany, Cyprus in Palos, and the High Net Worth network that follows Michael Gentili into his investments. And so that's where we are today. We've started the IP survey, expect results here in early Q2. At the same time, drilling is expected to begin then. We'll kick off that 10,000 meter program, and then it'll just be constant drill news results all the way through the remainder of 2025. So look forward to a catalyst-rich year. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks a lot, Chris. That was a great presentation. Just as a reminder to our audience, you can type your questions into the chat box at any time. So Chris, we've got a couple of questions. I think you may have already answered this one, but I'm just going to ask, does this graph encompass any of the new IP data? I think that's the first verify slide that you showed with the AI.
Yeah, no, it's a good point. It doesn't. And so that's our intention. And that's the neat thing about AI is as they're doing it in blocks. So, we've parceled it into like the Northeast block and then the Western side. So as the IP crew finishes each block, they'll give us the data, we'll do the inversion. And then once the inversion's done, we'll work that back into the AI to see in, more or less real time, how that changes the iterative model. And so does it move the new target up or pump house up? And so that's really the exciting part about AI is you don't have to wait a long time. You can rerun the model in seconds, really, once you put the data in. So we'll be doing that through. So no. What you saw there was pre-IP, and that's one of the reasons we did the IP is especially the Clementine trend. There was just obviously a missing layer of data there. There just wasn't enough data density.
Okay, with the Calibre merger, is there any planned work on the gold assets?
Yeah, great question. And certainly, Equinox coming in was all the buzz at PDAC. And, we control the next 60 kilometers of the shear zone. So that's incredibly just further increases the value of that land. And so, we're looking at right now I was using sort of Calibre embarked on the largest exploration program in that project's history this last year. And they were going to try a whole bunch of new techniques in getting through, because overburden's an issue where the shear zone comes through both of our projects. So I kind of let them trial because they have a lot more money. And now that they sort of come to a conclusion of what works and what doesn't as far as developing new targets along the shear zone, we're looking at putting together a program now and working that into our summer plans on the gold side. So it will be part of the focus for 2025, but we're going to start at Buchans since it's still kind of winter there, and once you can see the ground again, sort of May, June, we can turn our attention to the gold projects.
I guess as a follow-up to that, is there a plan to concentrate base metals exploration and development, and perhaps spinning out or selling the gold assets?
I think it would be premature to sell the gold assets. We don't really know what we have there yet. We certainly have splashy first pass drill results, and we know there's a buyer for that, right? So to spin it out, I think you devalue Canterra, where there's a buyer right now for those gold assets. So I think it's on Canterra to continue to add value to those assets. And it'd be a bit too early to spin those out, I think. And then on sort of developing base metals, or maybe that's the same question. I guess concentrating on the base metals. Yeah. We're just letting the projects compete for capital. And right now, Buchans has the highest chance of delivering a tier 1 discovery. And after we put a gold program together and we look at the initial results from whatever program we end up enacting here in 2025, then we'll just let them compete for capital, which is, I think, it has to be your strategy in exploration. You have to go with what's going to deliver a major discovery and create the most value.
Okay, with I guess Valentine in the spotlight, can you maybe talk about any permitting challenges or challenges with respect to social license that they may have encountered and that you're aware of?
Yeah, I mean, it was, I guess, all sort of third-hand knowledge for me. But what's unique about the island of Newfoundland is there's no traditional First Nations land claim settlement. So, most of their sort of stakeholder relations were to do with the local communities, and that's Buchans and Millertown. And so it was more of most of the same things you see in other parts of Canada with the First Nations negotiations as far as contracts and jobs. We're all the same. They had the same stumbling blocks, in this now 2-tier sort of system we have in Canada, where you have to first get provincial go ahead and then federal go ahead. So they had that. But it was very smooth. Provincially, it was incredibly smooth. And then federally, I think at one point they said you hadn't done enough on the caribou, which is kind of funny because I've only ever seen 2 caribou in that part of Newfoundland. But alas, they retweaked something and then got approval. So that was really it. I mean, I think it was 6 years from like the resource identification to actual, assuming first pour is next month. So that could be record time, I think, for Canada.
Okay. I guess going back to Buchans, another question. So depending on your IP results, would you consider bringing in multiple drill rigs, or would you focus on one strong target to bring value?
I guess, yeah, we'll just have to see how the IP results come back. Because your road access everywhere here, one drill rig, like the production's it's very fast. So, yes, if we're successful at the drill bit in discovering, let's say the Clementine trend works out, and that's a 6-kilometer trend. And if we're successful in discovering something significant there, then absolutely, you throw, a couple drill rigs at it and just start, testing it fairly aggressively along the length of it. But for now, one drill rig's the plan.
Okay. Considering similarities to Firefly, is there any interest from Australian investors?
There's been a lot of interest from Australian juniors, mostly, I would say, because it seems that a lot of Aussie juniors are cash rich and relatively asset poor. And obviously with Firefly's success, where they were sort of a 20-30 million market cap before they acquired, they call it Green Bay, but it's the old Rambler or Ming mine. And then they went from 20-30 million to 500, even 600 at some point. Certainly there's a lot of Aussie groups looking to replicate that success. So far there hasn't really been a fit, but certainly we look at all of the options as they come in.
Chris, how much cash do you have in the bank?
Right now we're 4 million.
And then I know, Buchans is the main focus, but do you have any, field work planned for any of the other claims or deposits?
Yeah, good question. And so the other 7 deposits, So Le Marchant, Boomerang, Long Lake, Bobby's, and Daniels ponds. But what's really the missing piece there is, yeah, they're all resource stage. I would say they're very all rushed to resource stage, as the previous owner really wanted to do a hub and spoke mining operation with one central milling facility. So they're all kind of minimally drilled to just get a resource around them. So they're more of exploration stage, I would argue. And so really what we need to do there is put them all into one database and effectively do a target ranking exercise to identify where the opportunities are. So right now we don't know, like we started at Le Marchant just because we were most comfortable with it. And by now, in stepping back, Long Lake actually looks like it has the most exploration potential. So we want to take a step back, look at all those holistically, all those deposits, and then determine, which one of them could yield another duck pond like discovery. So another 5 million tons of, in the at least 15% combined base metals. And so we're going to do that this year. And then, from there, we'll know which of the projects has the highest priority to deliver a new discovery and or grow the resource base.
Okay. I think that's it for questions, Chris. Thanks a lot for taking time to host this webinar with us today.
Yeah, thanks so much, Alina, and thank you everyone for the great questions.
Just as a reminder for our audience, our next webinar will feature future fuels, and that's on March 17th at 2 p.m. Eastern. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Have a great day.